we going to come out? Say, well, we real fun. Let's come out now. Let's go all around and then let's walk. That's all.
Look at all these.
Look at the Christmas tree.
A bunch of them.
Daddy, let's get out there and then go down and walk out and see one of the lights. Look at that Christmas tree.
Yeah, it's open.
Look at that Christmas tree. Let's go. Right there, out here in the window. So much stuff, Dad. Let's get out now. No, we're not getting out. We're just
Why are these windows up, son? I'm gonna freeze you. I think we can drive that way too. There's a walking path there, but we can't drive on it. I could probably, but if I get in trouble.
It's so long.
Isn't Nevaeh liking it? Here we are at the cattle farm. You maybe heard me talk about the cattle farm before from my first year of doing firewood. This is it. And I contacted the man, still had his number, contacted him and asked him about getting a big sycamore here, and I think he's got some more wood here too. But my first year, this is mainly how I got by, was this place here. A lot of dead locust, and now he's got around 200 acres, so you're just seeing a little piece of it right now. Cattle farm. Brings back some good memories right here. My first year, Carter liked it here too a whole lot. So I haven't been here for probably the last couple of years or so. I know I didn't come any last year. Maybe the year before I may have came here. I think I did the year before. And it's beautiful out here. And as I said, it goes way back that way. So I think he's got around 100 acres here, and then he's got another farm right down the road, and he's got 100 acres there, and I've got wood from both of them. A lot of wood. There's some very big trees here, big around. I mean, look at that one there, how huge at the base. Every bit of 5 or 6 feet right there at the bottom. There he is there, the farmer. Spoke to him. Russell B is his name. I don't know what B means, but when you call his phone, just about every time he answers, he says, Russell B. So, following him to it. Oh, the memories. The memories of this place. My brother will recognize this place. He's been here with me. He watches sometimes. There's the sycamore we're getting over here. It's dead. He's heading off that way. Man, it brings back memories being here. I've got wood all from back in there, locust. When I told you about my first year getting it from this cattle farm, this is where I met. This is the place. And there's the sycamore right there. It's a big, dead sycamore. It was actually dead, I think, a couple years ago when I was getting wood from here. So it may be seasoned. So if so, that stuff will be so much easier to split, that's for sure. But I plan to do that huge tree, and that'll be by far the biggest one I've dropped, especially with an axe by hand. So it's dead too, so that's, you got to be so careful. Glad it's leaning. I'm glad it is leaning somewhat. That way, you know, it'll kind of naturally fall the way that I want it to go. So this is a massive sycamore. This thing is huge. Look at how big it is. That's probably 4.5 to 5 feet wide at the bottom. Look at this. Look at that thing. It's massive. It is massive. Let's drop into it. It's been dead for a while. Carter, you need to go up there to the van.
Okay.
Now, I've got a few different axes, and the thing is, all these came from Gary too. Just today, I didn't get out here till 2 o'clock. I got a hold of this man. I used to get wood from him. I asked him if he still had this sycamore and if I could get it. And he's got more wood here as well. So Carter's, I'm making him go way up there. He's gonna sit in the van. He brought his laptop with him. He'll probably play on that for a little bit. It's pretty cold out right now. So I don't even know what to expect with a tree this big. I mean, I feel comfortable doing it, don't get me wrong, but it's massive. I mean, just how long it's gonna take is what's got me thinking. But here's the one you've seen me fill the poplar with, if you've seen that. I got from Gary. I've got it. Here's a single bit I got from him. And then here's a boy's axe that he gave for cord. I'm going to use it as well a little bit. Haven't even used it yet, but I'm about to today. That'll be better for once I get the notch in. It's just some tough wood here, buddy. Tough wood. Man, it's cold today too. I mean, it's pretty frigid out here, I ain't gonna lie. I may put my hood on. It's actually pretty cold. Man, is that not a massive tree? I've never done one that big, even with the saw. I haven't. I'm not a logger. I'm a firewood guy. I'm comfortable with a chainsaw. I'm comfortable with an axe. This kind of stuff I do just for fun. But I'm a firewood guy. That's what I do. You need to always watch up ahead for dead branches too when you're doing this, because this is a dead tree. So, it should warm me up pretty quick. That hurt. I think that was a chip that hit me. Definitely tougher than the poplar. Hardest wood I've ever split in my life right here. I didn't know how well it would chop out. It definitely ain't chopping out like poplar or something softer. This is a tough wood right here. Extremely tough. That is some tough stuff. Hardest wood I've ever split. I know I've said that a lot. Hardest wood I've ever split before. You've got to watch for dead branches. Actually, look right here. See that big branch up there just sitting there? Not even connected. Just sitting there. Dangerous. One thing about this I'm pretty positive about, the core is not going to be rotten, I don't think at all. This wood is very solid actually. So I don't think I'm going to have to worry about that a bit. I'll tell you one thing, this wind today, buddy, is cold. This is kind of wind that hurts your ears. It hurts, makes your ears hurt. One of the most challenging things I've done to date with an axe. It will be the most challenging. Only thing I could see that would be more challenging really right now, not the only thing, but for me trying to split this stuff. And even then, I don't know that would be more challenging, because this is got a little audience here too. Look at this, being watched here. Cats are curious creatures. Curious. Man, this is massive. I just can't get over it. What am I doing? Look up there. See that big sycamore branch that's sitting there? That's what you gotta watch for. I'm not an expert, but I'm just telling you what I know, what I do know. And really, it's common sense things. Just look at here. Look at that one. Oh. Gotta watch for stuff like that. What have I got myself into here? What have I got myself into here? I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but I got out here kind of late because I just contacted this man today. It's the first time I spoke to him in years. different colors in the wood. I've noticed the darker stuff is tougher. This lighter stuff isn't as tough as this. This right here will test you. This will test you. Let's see what you got right here. Yeah, whenever I got to this tree, it was bigger than I even remembered. As I said, this man had told me, I think a couple years prior to this, that I could have this tree because it was dead. And one reason I didn't mess with it is because, for one, it's a job to take a tree like that down, even with a saw. You know, of course you can do it faster, but... And then another thing, I knew how hard sycamore was to split, and it's just not the most desirable firewood, so... yeah, I wasn't in a hurry to get it. He had a lot of good seasoned locusts there, dead standing locusts, and that's what I was getting. I felled quite a few locust trees there and split them up and sold a whole lot of locusts from that property. That property and his other property. He has two 100-acre farms, so he's a cattle farmer. He's got all kinds of cattle, and beautiful scenery out there. My brother's been out there with me as well. Whenever he used to help me, he's been out there with me. And it's just a really pretty place to be, and me and Carter both were talking about the memories it brought back being there, and he was saying that he was happy to be there. This was actually around 4 years ago when I first came to this place. Cold anymore. Ain't cold now. I don't know how long I've been at it now, but I'm guessing 45 minutes to an hour, something like that. So I don't know. We'll see. This is a tough tree. I'm not trying to get in a hurry with this. This is a huge tree. I ain't trying to see how fast I can do this thing. I want to bring it down, but I've got to conserve my energy with this. Me personally, I have to. Yeah, that stuff is tough. Sycamore is tough. This is massive, dude. I know I've said that a bunch, but the more I see this thing, the more I think that it's just a massive tree. Diligent. Man, diligent in his business. Man, diligent in his business will stand before kings, the Bible says. Sounds to me like he'll do pretty good. If you've never felled a tree with an axe like this, it's there's something addicting about it to me. There's something about swinging an axe too, you know, that's just addicting. Just like with hand splitting firewood. Even right now, me watching myself do this makes me want to go back out and do it right now again. I don't know what it is. It's just once you get comfortable with an axe and everything, and it's really enjoyable to do things like that. There's that boy's axe that Gary gave us. And of course, this isn't a chopper. That's not a chopping axe. You can tell by the head clearly. It's more of a splitter than it is a chopper. And what it was good for, I found, was kind of just shaping up the notch at the end. But here I'm just kind of trying to see what it will do, but it didn't do much to that sycamore like that. And he had a very sharp edge on it. It's just the edge was just thicker, you know, more for splitting than for chopping. There's the 5-pound single bit he gave me too. Now that one, the head is more for splitting as well, but that extra weight in the head, I was able to shape that notch pretty well with it because of the extra weight. But as I said, if you've never done this, it truly is something addicting about it. I plan to do it probably as long as I'm able to. As long as I'm able to swing an axe, even when I'm older, I plan to do it, fell trees with an axe. And it probably, any time that I have time, you know, and it's not hindering my work or anything like that, and, you know, it's not getting in the way of my schedule by any means or something like that, you know, but I plan to fell them with an axe just because it's really enjoyable. And this is a dead tree, by the way. I get a lot of comments as well about, you know, save the trees, don't chop down the trees, and I'm all for, you know, saving trees as well and stuff, but I'm also all for using trees that are dead and, you know, laying in the forest rather than letting them rot. So that's what I'm doing. I get a lot of comments like that from people saying, you know, save the trees. I love the trees. You know, I love the trees too, but a rotten or a dead tree, you know, it's not going to do any good to lay there and rot. Or a dead tree like that, you know, that's still solid, that can be used for firewood rather than like I said, laying there and littering the forest floor and rotting. If I'm not mistaken, you know, that's a big cause of forest fires as well, as them being cluttered with down trees and things, you know, and it just spreads so much faster when it's like that. So it's beneficial to clean that stuff up. God gave them to us to use. You know, I'm not saying I'm all for going and chopping down trees all over the place, but I'm also not completely against chopping down trees either. Obviously, I'm doing it here, but back in, you know, the old days, that's how people built their homes. A lot of times with log cabins and things, and I'm sure many of the trees they chopped down weren't dead. I'm sure they used many green ones to build their cabins, because a lot of those log cabins, if you look at them, you can see the gaps in them where the wood dried out over time. Huge gaps. And they would just chink it. As you can see, I had quite a crowd here too. Those cows they're curious. They came up to my saw at one point. I thought they was going to step on it. Thank goodness they didn't. But yeah, that's a massive sycamore right there. Massive sycamore. I wanted to clarify something really quick too, because I'd mentioned in one of my previous videos that I didn't agree with Buck and Billy Ray on everything, and I didn't mean his work, like his technique with his work or anything like that, because that man he was a logger, I think, for 20 years or something of that nature. He knows what he's doing. I've learned from him, you know. That's how I've learned how to hand split, and Even I remember I was doing a big oak one day for somebody, and the oak had a pretty good lean to it. And oak is really a heavy, dense wood, anyways. And so I was worried about it kicking back on me, about it barber chairing and kicking back. And I remembered a video of Buckins where he had done a bore cut on a tree that was leaning, and I'd never done it at this point, but I notched the tree, and then I did the bore cut, and the last thing I cut was kind of what I call the back strap on the tree, which is supposed to be the strongest holding wood on the tree, if I'm not mistaken. So a thin strip of it can hold the tree. So, and what that does is keeps the tree from barber chairing on you, or really reduces the risk of it, anyways. And I used that technique. I had an Echo CS590 Timberwolf, I believe is what it was called, and it bore right through that tree. And I cut the strap on it, and it fell right where I wanted it to go. The woman was wanting it to miss a flagpole and a bush, if I'm not mistaken. Fell right down her driveway, and which was a gravel driveway where she wanted it to go. And I bucked it up and chopped it into firewood. Actually, some of that I chopped into firewood, and some of that I took off as logs, and that was the experience I mentioned before of taking logs off, and why I'd probably never do it again. After wrestling those big, probably 600-pound logs on that trailer, me and another guy, we drove probably an hour away, and I think made like $38 or $40 for both of the logs. And those logs, if I would have split them in the firewood, would have probably brought me about $200. So it wasn't worth it at all to me, and I don't plan to probably mess with them anymore in that aspect. But I'll tell you one thing I do plan to do with this, and I think I put it in the text, is on the screen. I mean, in text, I plan to slab some of this because I think it'll make beautiful slabs. And that's something I intend to get into as well. I have built things out of some of this wood that I get. I've built benches and tables and things like that. This one would actually make some beautiful tables too. It's just so big. I made a real pretty table out of hackberry, and it turned out really nice. I've still got it on my porch, actually. That was about 4 years ago or so when I built it. And I know this notch isn't the prettiest. As I said before, when you get into these big trees, it's just something about them. Splitting them, man, I feel like chopping them too. It's just like the fibers of the wood itself just gets tougher. I don't know if you see me with my hand there, but I was kind of opening it up. My hands could really feel it on this one. And those handles are very comfortable, so I can't blame it on the handles. It's just when you're chopping something like this, you definitely feel it in your hands. Starting to get this notch cleaned up. You know what I'm going to do, though, probably? I am going to do my sides like a lot of guys are saying not to do. That's how Bucking does it normally. That's how I've done every tree that I've done. And I realize that takes away from your hinge wood a little. But from what I understand, it also reduces the risk of barber chair. And not only that, this tree is so massive, I don't think it's gonna, I think I'll have plenty of hinge wood. Just speaking from what I've done myself, I haven't heard him say the reason why he does it, I don't think. But the reason why I like doing it that way is because it just allows you to get into that back cut better once you get to it. If you go ahead and chop the sides off, once you get into your back cut, you can get into it easier. Because you got to realize you're not doing your back cut with a chainsaw. Like I seen one guy saying, well, you don't do that with a saw, so why with an axe? Well, an axe is a completely different tool than a saw. Now, this is my opinion. A saw you can go straight in with. An axe you can't just go straight in with an axe. You've got to open it up to get into that wood. And when you take those sides off, it's opening it up and allowing you to get in. In my opinion, that's the benefit I've seen of doing it that way. Tell you one thing about this axe though, it has a lot more impact, maybe where it's got that heavier head. Look at the pole on it. It's got that heavier head. I mean, it has a lot of impact, and I like that handle length, honestly. I like 36 inch for splitting, but honestly for this is a 32 inch, I believe Gary said. I like this better for this. as far as the reason why I listen to Bucking and I go by what he does is because I can see from the man's skill that and him showing it and putting it to use and that it works, you know. And I said this on my last video too, you know, that I don't agree with everything that he says. That don't mean I don't like him. I like the guy, I do. I don't agree with everything that he says. I think he's a good-hearted guy. I think some things, sometimes people don't understand what they're saying. And mainly what I'm talking about with him, as far as what I don't agree with, is when he kind of starts talking about religious things. And because I know what the Bible says about it. And so I believe that to be true. And sometimes he says things that contradict it. And I don't mean that in an offensive way to him at all or anybody else. But what I'm saying is I trust I trust what he says about work ethic and everything. And now, granted, I have heard other people say, you know, you shouldn't try things just because you see him do them because he's a professional. And I agree with that too, to a certain extent. But as far as this situation here, I'm going to take the sides out on this tree. It's a massive tree. From what I understand, it reduces the risk of barber chair. That's how I've done every tree I've done. And it just makes the back cut easier to get into. That's what I found. That's why I like taking the sides off. As soon as I do this, I do the same thing he does. I do my notch, I take my sides off, and then I do my back cut. And on the back cut, you can get into it a lot easier when the sides are kind of notched in. And the good thing about this tree, it's leaning this way. Now, if a tree was straight up and down, I would feel a lot less safe taking the sides off because then it has far more of a possibility to go towards you or to the left or to the right or back or whichever. But this one's leaning pretty good this way. Not hard enough to where I think it'll barber chair by any means. Really, this is perfect. This is what I want. It's leaning, but it ain't leaning so hard that I think it'll barber chair by any means. And then, as I said, from what I understand, taking those sides off reduces the risk of the barber chair. So I am taking the sides off. I'll probably continue to do that unless I've got a tree that's straight up and down. And I'll probably just try to avoid those a lot of times when it comes to felling with an axe, to be honest with you. I delivered a load of wood today, and they were talking about how they wanted it, you know, in case their electric went out and everything. Not only that, it helps them as well with their electric bills and things of that nature. The electric goes up for a lot of people in the winter. Some people it doubles. But we have a cold front that's supposed to come in overnight and get down to 0 degrees, so that's pretty cold. And then I seen that on, I think, the next few days or so, it's supposed to be down in the single digits. And so even the high on some of the next few days is just supposed to be in the teens, if I'm not mistaken. So that's pretty cold. I mean, it'd be really good, as somebody else mentioned, to check on people, you know. I didn't get out there until a little bit later, so I didn't get to finish this tree this day. And with my phone giving me trouble, I wanted to try to record as much of it as I could. So I would go up there in the van with Carter for a little bit and let it warm up and then come back down there and set it up again. So within about, I think, 2 or 3 hours, something like that, is how long it took me to do that knot. Something of that nature, and that was on and off. I'd go up there in the van every now and then and try to get my phone back on, and got something to eat and drink a couple times. I wasn't trying to rush with this tree by any means. And yeah, I was running those cows off there. They were right next to my saw. They are curious for sure. They like to come right up to you. He has a lot of them too. Probably, I would guess, around 100 in that field there. Thank goodness they didn't step on it. I'm recording this again at nighttime, so I noticed earlier we're past 8,000 subscribers tonight, so I'm so happy about that. It's almost surreal in a way, and I you know, my goal when I made YouTube was to try to be successful with it, but I didn't expect it to grow the way that it is. And a big part of it, without a doubt, is because of those shorts that I have. And but not only that, it was growing, you know, pretty steadily before that. But the shorts definitely really kicked things up for me. So I definitely recommend, if you are a content creator, try to utilize those shorts. Find something that works and use it. Whatever that may be for your channel, you know, find something that works and just use it. think I'm coming to the end of this video here. I'm gonna have to make a part 2 on it. This is pretty much just the notch, you know, is what this video is. This is a massive tree. The next video will be me doing the sides and then doing the back cut. And I actually started on one of the sides, but my phone died on me, so I didn't even get any of that footage. Or it didn't die on me, it shut off on me, as I mentioned it kept doing, so didn't really get to get that footage. So, but the next video, it'll be me doing the sides and then finishing the back. Supposed to get some bad weather here soon, and I've got some more firewood to deliver and stuff, and then we've got Christmas coming up. So as soon as I can, as soon as I'm able to, you know, and it is convenient for me, I plan to go out here and bring that tree down. And then I plan to have some footage also of slabbing the wood. But I appreciate you watching. Everybody who's commenting and supporting us, I truly appreciate it. Me and my family both. Be safe. Anybody that does this, I wish each and every one of you a Merry Christmas and God bless you.
Elk horns.